Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for the Making Progress channel. Today's video is to ask the question of, is just be yourself good advice to apply to talking to girls that you might like and might want to increase the attraction thereof? Now, you'll no doubt have heard that kind of advice pretty often, just be yourself, when it comes to talking to girls. Or if you're a girl, you might have heard this advice when talking to guys, but that's less common because I think most people who are of age know that sort of 90% of the thing it takes to be a girl to attract guys is just how you look. And that's just the frank, God honest truth meant with no value judgments whatsoever. But with the guys, it works a little bit differently. And the thing about this advice of, well, just be yourself is that it's almost always very well meant and has massive grains of truth to it. But is it the best advice? And in the sense of does it help you succeed connecting with folks on an attraction level as well as possible? And my take is, while there are big grains of truth to it that we're absolutely going to absorb here in this little video chat, a more nuanced look can reveal how to modify this advice slightly to enhance the effect even more. So let's dig into this a little bit. First, we got to do a quick review of how attraction works. When males are attracted to females, it's usually, though not wholly, purely physical initial attraction that matters the most. Face, teeth, mouth, eyes, body, hair, that sort of thing. And it's completely subconscious. You don't have to point out anything you like about a girl. As a matter of fact, when you do like a girl or are attracted, a lot of times you have to review the subconscious processing, the feeling of attraction, and be like, why do I like her? Your buddies will be like, dude, why you like that girl? And you're like, it's just a sensation you get. So it all happens really, really, really quickly. And the looks are a big deal. Now, personality and social vibe play a role for guys being attracted to girls, but a highly secondary one. In fact, I would say those vibes and personality, social interaction things play a much bigger role for girls ascending in their attraction from you're a person I want to hook up with to you're a person I'm already hooking up with, will you be my girlfriend? A perennial problem that very physically attractive, though girls that may not have focused on their deeper qualities run into is this no problem for them to take any guy home from the bar they want, even the guys that are awesome and have careers and they're confident and intelligent and have all the best intentions, but they'll complain nobody wants to date me, I'm just like a hookup buddy and everyone always abandons me. And it's like, yeah, Stacy, that's because they ain't none to you, bitch. And because guys will like you initially based on your looks, but then you'll never make it to stage 2 of actual girlfriend material. That's how it works for females. So if you're female and you happen to accidentally stumble into this video, I'm not sure why you would, all jokes, then you definitely, if you want to attract as many guys as possible of the highest quality, you got to optimize your physical appearance and presentation. But once you're dating a guy or once you're on multiple dates or once you're chatting and vibing, then it's important for you to have those secondary qualities of attraction at that point, of much deeper value. Are you intelligent? Do you have a sense of humor? Do you have cool values? Are you actually a decent person? That stuff is what's going to get you married, girlfriended, engaged and married if you would like, or just at least a lot of really awesome relationships. That's where that shit kicks in. But right up front, it's pretty much almost all physical. However, with females, it's really not even in reverse, but the psychosocial is right up front as a guy, what you're number one being judged on. The physical stuff is way more minor. Girls generally look for you to be taller than average, though if you have enough riz, that also doesn't fucking matter. And they're generally looking for you to look not like Harry Potter aged, like a man in some capacity, and you just take up some space and you're damn near 80% of the way with girls. And if you have a super awesome fit body, that definitely helps, but it's just helping a little. Whereas how you interact psychosocially with girls is really front and center. Why do I make a fine point of this? Mostly because the rest of the talk is how to talk to girls and not how to look presentable for girls, but also because a lot of guys have a guy's theory of mind. Just as a reminder, theory of mind is something that sentient beings have, and it's your ability to look at some other sentient, intelligent being like another person and be able to make a reasonable estimate, or at least have a gut feeling about what are they thinking. Like, if you see a person walking down the street, you're just looking at them from third person perspective, and a dog goes, and they go, ugh! You can theory of mind intuit that they were scared for a second, right? They have all the features, and you would also have been scared had the dog jumped out at you. Theory of mind mostly works on an implication of they probably think about things similarly to how I do. The trouble is when guys bring that into relations with trying to attract girls, they think about becoming attractive to girls like they think they would want a girl to be attracted to them. Like, well, what would I do in this scenario? In other words, if I was the girl that was judging me, what would I want out of me? Which is why a lot of guys are looking into fashion. They're at the gym. They're looking at their hair, which is all good stuff, but then they don't work on their interactive style. And the thing is, girls give much more of a fuck about your interactive style. But like, if there's a super hot girl that you're trying to hit on and her interactive style is a bit weird, she don't give a fuck. You're on the same game anyway. Who gives a shit? Because you're trying to get that you know what. And it doesn't really matter how they act. Now, if you're trying to become your girlfriend, that shit matters, but nobody thinks about it that way as a guy, or very few people. So we have to take and alter our theory of mind as guys to ask the question of what do girls tend to prefer as a method of interacting with them that we may be able to optimize about. So when females are attracted to males, another pattern altogether is followed. First, there's two things here. First, in most cases, females need to become comfortable around you in order for you to be allowed into that realm of attraction. And then secondly, they need to become attracted to you. Very important that it's two parts. We'll get to that in a little bit. Now, there are definitely hookups you can have with girls in which the female is excited about the danger of being around you because you're mysterious and sort of maybe not safe, but it's always a maybe not safe, and at the end of the day safe. It's hardly ever like she feels actually afraid. This is like scary movies and people that like them. The fact that the zombies are behind a screen is what makes it just scary enough to be exciting, but if there's real zombies, I promise you wouldn't like the situation and you would be screaming for real, and running the fuck away. So females, it turns out, tend to require comfort to be built with them for attraction to unfold for at least two reasons, and probably a few other more minor ones. They need to feel safe. This isn't conscious, but subconsciously, there's an evolutionary implication. You can think of women in a game theoretic evolutionary sense, reproductive females of reproductive age, as immortality generators. They take the genes that you have as a male that want to survive to the next generation, are very mortal, predictably mortal, without access to female reproductive resources. And with access to a functioning female uterus, they can be replicated, as many babies as you can have through a Paleolithic lifespan, and voila. And so because females know intuitively that they have something very valuable inside of them, they know that men who are quite unscrupulous will try to access it with consent or without. And women generally highly prefer consent because they want to screen which men they let in and out, because otherwise they're just random gene selection is fucking stupid. They want the most fit men. And also they want men that show the kind of qualities that maybe will enhance them sticking around a bit longer and helping raise the children. Again, none of this is conscious, it's entirely subconscious. But as social primates, we're all tailor-made. Almost all of us have all this neural architecture pre-built, pre-trained, from birth all the way to young adulthood. It'll express itself in the same way anyway. So females have an inborn tendency to prefer to feel comfortable and safe before attraction is even an emotion they can experience. It's like guys have to see what you look like before an attraction forms. It's, things that are file under things that are ridiculous to most guys. Like when, someone's like, hey, do you want to hook up with this girl? Here, you can DM her, texts all you want, no pictures and no videos allowed. You'd be like, I don't fucking know. She could be cool as shit and be a fucking, I don't know. Scott, how much offensive shit are we allowed to say on this, like a ham beast or whatever? Just like, what I'm saying? Just not the kind of girl you want to be into, but she could be cool as shit. It's just the same way that guys need to see the girl before they can even start to generate an attraction in most cases. Like, oh, damn, that's what Betsy looks like. Hell yeah, now I'm feeling some shit down there. Girls need to be feeling safe and comfy with a guy 9 times out of 10. And here's another really, really big one. And this is going to get into the next part of our talk, which is really the meat and potatoes. If girls detect that you're uncomfortable, you're not generating vibes of safety, it might signal that you, the guy, have high neuroticism. And if you're very neurotic, it, again, completely intuitively, no explicit understanding in most cases of this, just vibes only, it signals to females that you're sweating, you're nervous, and maybe you're nervous, and often you're nervous because you have lost physical or dominance altercations with other males around you in the dominance hierarchy, and thus you are of relatively low status. And low status is not the way to attract females. High status is. So if you're real neurotic, the woman kind of doesn't feel safe around you. She'll intuit really often that, like, you're not the guy. She's going to intuit that you're low on the dominance hierarchy. And if you think about it, true alpha male, the hell is he sweating anyone for? King gorilla, he doesn't give a fuck. Nothing scares him. And thus he feels real safe. And thus a woman could kind of feel safe by proxy. That's a big deal. So let's take that knowledge and put it into a discussion of how fronting, presenting a certain front of yourself that's not the real you, how that fails, and why, at least in part, just be yourself is very good advice, at least in part. If you're fronting, which means just presenting a version of you that's entirely fake, this often requires a lot of cognitive bandwidth, both for actively generating conversational outputs that don't normally come smoothly to you because you're faking it. Like if you just talk how you normally talk, how I am right now, I can fucking blab like this till the fucking blue in the face. If you said, hey, talk in a way that Michael Jackson would talk, but just do it to this girl and you can't tell her it's a joke, just go. I'd be like, hee, Jamon. And then, hey Scott, I'd be like, why am I talking to a girl? I really want to talk to a 5-year-old. Oh my goodness. We see Michael Jackson would never say that, so I already failed the trial, right? You can't possibly be ultra fluid and smooth with your conversation if you're trying to be someone you're literally not. That's way more bandwidth, and that's unfortunate. And a lot of bandwidth is going to be required by you to suppress and redirect unwanted reactions to her outputs and the environment. If you're sweating King Gorilla out there somewhere and you're going to try to pretend like you're not sweating him, it's going to take a lot of bandwidth for you to become really stoic at it. And in that case, that starts to look like the woman can tell that you're not being your genuine self. It's very, very difficult to fake it until you make it in the land of attracting females. And here's the deal. Here's the real big reason why fronting fails. Especially women. To a degree, most men do not have an ability for or access to. Like, check this out. Men are straight up capable of more aggression than females. Top female athletes, their coaches have to talk them up before their matches oftentimes so they can really fucking do something. They're just not so good at it 9 times out of 10. Males, you got to talk down before a match. Don't try to kill the guy, just dunk on him. This is just basketball. Don't try to stab him. Men can't fucking wait to get into competition. But there's other stuff that females on average are much better at. And one of those is examining a crapload of subconscious stimuli from the male they're talking to, or really from anyone they're talking to, and intuiting what emotions are being felt and what that person's really thinking and feeling deep down. They are insanely fine-tuned to do this 9 times out of 10. It's not just what you say. It is. It's not just how you say it. It's also that. But it's tones of voice. You know, like the Harry Potter voice cracking, trying to hit on a girl like, hey, Betsy. It's really tough to pretend you have a shitload of balls when you can't even get out a normal sound. Eye contact patterns. You look at a girl that's hot enough when you're young enough, then this kind of shit affects you a lot. Your inner game's not that strong. Maintaining eye contact with her is very difficult, and you might want to get your eyes away from her because she's cooking you the entire time she's looking at you. She can tell. She can fucking tell. Facial expressions. Even very subtle changes in facial expressions, females are insanely attuned to. That's why they'll get feelings like, oh, that guy was kind of weird. That guy was kind of a creep. Like, that guy's really sweet, but I don't know. I just wasn't attracted to him. That's all that stuff plus body language. How much you're leaning in, how much you're leaning away, how stiff are you, how relaxed are you? And everything in between. Women are like super intelligent AI detectors of all the subconscious processing. The reason they got so good at it through the course of evolution is because lying on only verbal output is easy as fuck. Watch this. I have a 10-inch dick. Sounds like I do. If you were just going to believe me everything I said, you would be a mark-ass motherfucker. You would believe anything anyone told you. And even if you could logically examine it, shit, if you want to tell me, like, hey, like, how do I really know that your dick is this big? You and I could have an extended conversation. I would tell you make-believe on-the-fly stories about how condoms don't fit. I would make up stories in the spot about how girls I've been with, they really liked it, but then they discover that I have the thing and they tried their best. They couldn't do it. No problem. Lying is easy as hell. I can do it at the drop of a hat. What's much harder is lying convincingly and lying about who you really are deep down inside and keeping all that facial expression and everything shit together and the body language and the voice and the eye contact. It is damn near impossible. Now, some people pull it off. The best way to pull it off is to really be that dude. Like if a girl was like, Elon, do you like really have like billions of dollars? He'd be like, yes. She'd be like, God damn, he said that with a lot of, I guess he probably does. She looks it up. She's like, holy shit, he really does. Really being that dude, really having that fucking energy is kind of like 99% of the time what's going to make it seem like you have that energy. It's insanely difficult to fake. And females have been ferreting it out for generations because if someone could just lie to you and then you turn out to have children with someone that's a dud and it was actually super low on the hierarchy, he just said, yeah, I'm a king in this other village just a mile down the road. She's like, oh my God, a king. Like if you don't have king vibes, you ain't getting that shit. And that's very, very well attuned in almost all females. So because males operate in this landscape, it's actively trying to front as a very different person than your real self is just going to fail a lot because you get marked quick as someone who's not legitimate, not genuine, something is off. And it's also really tough to come back from because, especially that night, if you're talking to girls, because women will put you in the box of nah. And it's, first of all, they'll put you in there real quick. After like 3 seconds of interacting with you, they're like, this guy's a fucking mark. He's a fucking liar. Or he's fronting, he's fake. The real him is some combination of lower status than he seems to be putting out / I don't give a shit because why would he be faking if he was a real fucking top dog? And so they'll put you in that box of nah, and they will leave you in there by default. It's a lot harder to get out of the box than into the box. Scott, I wrote this one for you. I'd love to get in her box. You know what I mean?
Hey-yo.
Elbows for everyone at the party. I like to be the guy that says like a moderately funny jokes and then elbows everyone. You get it? You get it, Bill? Like,
I'm
Mike,
funny. Tell me I'm funny.
Shut up. Shut up. No one ever thought you were funny. You're all right. So that's a big problem. Fronting fails because it is easily detectable and perversely unattractive. However, there is an illusion behind telling people just be yourself. And that illusion is that the self is an always unified, single feature entity. So yes, trying to act like someone very much unlike yourself is probably a terrible idea at attracting women land. But that doesn't automatically make it just be yourself the best advice. Although it's much better than saying act like someone else, which I've never heard anyone legitimately tell someone outside of a joke. One of the reasons for this fact is that you don't have one completely unified self. Rather, you have a diverse set of qualities and aspects of your personality that are different. Many of them are complementary to one another, which is if you express multiple of these at the same time, it presents a genuine front of like, wow, this is a really cool person who has a cogent personality. But many of them can in fact be contradictory. Some examples from myself. I was writing this and I was like, I'm not going to make up stories. I'll just use myself for this one. I can be ultra agreeable on the flip of a switch. It's absolutely my favorite mode. When I'm not on crazy amounts of steroids, it's my default mode. I just want to be kumbaya, love, peace, and respect with everyone. It's super great. I can also flip the switch, and this is just as much a genuine part of me as anything else, and be ultra skeptical and politely disagreeable when confronting well-meaning folks that just are laboring under an intense illusion about the logical structure of the world, like debates about economics and social policy. If they're super intellectually off base, and it's an argument I'm having with them in public, I'm not super agreeable anymore. I'm disagreeable, but politely. Very different tone. Like, hey, listen, I hear where you're coming from, but have you considered these other 3 things? Whereas if I'm just being super agreeable, like if I meet a fucking leftist hippie while I'm high on fucking pot walking around college campus, I'm just fucking getting out the old hand, bring it in. We're all fucking humans. I love you just like I'd love anyone else, and you're fucking awesome. There's no fucking disagreement. There's no argument. 2 very different modes of acting, and both are very much the real, genuine me. I also have another mode, which is straight up cynical and combative. If you guys want to see that, just go to the RP Strength channel, my other channel, and our other channel. It's a fucking team here, not just selfish old me. And just Google, YouTube, the Liver King video. Scott, that's a pretty good illustration of that part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I say a lot of things to Liver King that I wouldn't say to another grown man unless I wanted to fist fight him. And that stands for Liver King as well. That's not a mode I'm bringing to a fucking party because, like, I'm actively making fun of the guy. I don't like that mode. It gets the lols. Liver King deserves it because he's a fucking scam artist. But, like, it comes to me as naturally as me being Russian. I got that evil part of me from fucking Mother Russia and hundreds of years evolving there. I got the cynical scientist part, and I got the super agreeable love all hippies part. All 3 of these are the real me. So which mode of action is the real me? It's all of them. And then thus, when people used to tell me when I was younger, just be yourself, I found it to be grotesquely insufficient advice because I'm just like, but I am myself, but there's many different ways to express myself. It's like, Scott, this is the part I fucking hate in most movies when they're like, they'll do something in like some kind of like mission or something. And like some people who aren't super well trained, like the well-trained person's like, all right, you'll know when to go. And they're like, how do we know? They're like, trust me, you'll know. I'm like, no, trust me, I'm a fucking moron. You don't want to tell me that big fucking factory explosion. You have Sniper Overwatch. You're like, is this it now? Or are we waiting for something else? You know what I'm saying, man? Like,
classic.
Come on. Oh, you'll know. Like, will I though? So when people, used to tell me, like, just be yourself, I'm like, but there is a lot of me in there, and not all parts of myself are for all situations, all people. So the way I've learned to understand this is that it's best to see your personality and interaction modes as kind of a Swiss Army knife. Not all tools are for all people and for all occasions. So you can and should absolutely, in social interactions with females, be an aspect of yourself and front that aspect more than others, but just be yourself is at best insufficiently specific for how to act. Let's take a look really quick at how we can show off some different sides of ourselves depending on the nature of the scenario and the conversation. So emphasizing different aspects for different people. You're going to lean into different aspects of your personality and interactive style depending on who you're talking to. This is not fronting. It is not being fake, because every aspect you do lean into is a genuine part of you. It is actually a tool in your Swiss Army knife. You're not saying like, yeah, my Swiss Army knife has a fucking lighter, and she's like, where's the lighter? You're like, I made that part up. Oh God, please still have sex with me. Remember, getting on your knees and crying, if nothing else works, is the surefirest way to get laid. Scott, is that not game number 1 in your book?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Actually, wear knee pads out to the club. Quite ready for this. And also there are things that the club knee pads come in handy for.
Yeah, girls love desperation.
They love desperation. They can't help but get wet when they hear it. So, and that's the end of the video. See you guys next time. Like, damn, I thought he had more shit to say. So let's talk about a couple of examples of how to be yourself in social situation. 3 different examples, and none of them, I think 3, 2 of them are not the thing you want to be when trying to attract someone most times. So first example is how you would typically behave on a job interview. You might lean into being reserved and not initiating the convo. Like when you sit down for a job interview, don't just start fucking talking. You're there, someone else is in charge, and it's not you, it's the interviewer. That's clearly the relationship. So you're there, hands crossed or open and smiling, very calm facial expression, and you're ready to be interacted with because you're there to try to present your best self, but on their time, not on your time. So don't just start blabbing. When asked to brag on your own behalf, like tell me about some of the qualities that make you good for this position, you're going to be truthful, but also eager to show off. Like you want to be like, well, actually, like funny you should ask. I've done this, I did that. I got that degree. I worked at this other job, or worked the same kind of software you guys have. You got to show off about yourself. Interviews are about showing off. Can you imagine if someone was like at an interview, they were like, so why should you get this position? You'd be like, oh, well, I don't know. I'm not so sure I'm the right guy. If a girl was talking to you about like, why should I date you? Like, why should I even be at this date with you? And you're on a first date, you're like, nah, I don't know. That's actually a great response because she's like, oh, this fucking guy. But in an interview, they're like, all right, feel free to leave anytime you want. You're like, oh shit, I used the wrong interaction mode. And you're going to have a vibe that's like an excited at the opportunity vibe, like a SpongeBob SquarePants, kind of like, oh, gee whiz, I kind of want to impress. I don't want to go overboard, but I'm here for it. People want to see that excitement because ostensibly you shouldn't be applying to jobs that you're not excited to be there for. And a distinct vibe that you should also have or might also have is an I'm being examined and I'm here for it. Like I'm ready. Like all is clear, all is open. I'm ready for answering questions. I'm under the microscope and that's okay. That's one vibe. That's one mode of interaction in your Swiss Army knife. So when you're at a job interview, that's the knife you take to the job interview. Don't really take a job interview to your knife. Scott, a Swiss Army knife's okay for a job interview, right? Like, who are you going to scare with that? Maybe don't take it out. Next example of a different kind altogether of interaction is when you're meeting a mentor. When you meet an esteemed personal hero mentor, this would happen verbatim if I ever met like Steven Pinker, for example, the renowned Harvard psychologist. What you might do is you might ask them like a zillion questions. You might speak about yourself minimally. Like I wouldn't even give Steven Pinker the chance to ask me who I was. I'd just be like, Steven, I'm an unbelievably huge fan of yours. Please don't let me creep you out. Is there anything you want to tell me? Anything at all? Anything that comes out of your mouth, I'm just going to like write down as fast as I can and just please continue to spit wisdom because that's all you do. You don't go like that to an interview because they're like, we want to hear about you as well. But when you're meeting a mentor, kindly shut the fuck up about yourself because you're using your time poorly. Can you imagine meeting someone you found insanely esteemed and you just wanted to learn more and more from them, but on reflection, you just talked about yourself the whole time? That'd be fucking weird. If I'm meeting Steven Pinker, I'd give a rat's ass. Anything he wants to know about me, he can fucking Google. I'm all over the fucking internet. I just want to talk to him. And your front that you're putting out is to respectfully revere and soak up everything they're putting out. So if Steven Pinker is talking to me and I'm like, oh my God, wow, yes, like that. That's a totally cool vibe and very appropriate. And you won't be taking on the vibe of like, I'm not sweating this guy, right? Like I'm unaffected. I'm affected by Steven Pinker in real life. I would shit my fucking pants. And that's totally cool because heroes should be revered and he knows he's smart as fuck and people should be asking him questions and like, oh, holy fuck, this is happening. Scott, you got a person that if you meet in real life, you'd shit your pants?
Oh, man.
Like, how long do we have?
Yeah, a lot.
Any major band guitarist that had like multi-platinum albums, et cetera?
Maybe like Tom Hardy.
Right. Like how much would you tell about yourself when you meet Tom Hardy? Arguably nothing, not even your name. Like you're Tom Hardy. They're like, he's like, what's your name? You're like, don't worry about my name. No eye contact, stare just at his traps, and his lower regions, mostly lower regions. In any case, these are two modes, both the you being interviewed mode and the you talking to someone you consider very esteemed and you want to learn from, very different interactive modes from each other and still super different from the last mode, which is you interacting with folks you want to attract, right? You're the male, she's the female as a quintessential example. What you want to do in that mode, and there's plenty of stuff for you to read on the internet about how to do this, but I'm just going to give you the really sort of short summary because all of this is supposed to talk about like how being the real you is. This is not a master class on pickup. I'm absolutely unqualified to do that. I can tell you what not to do. What to do, I have only the bare inklings of. So you're going to come in with a relaxed abundance mentality. Like you need nothing. The number one tip I could ever give you for interacting with attractive females is do not sweat these hoes a fucking cent, not a fucking dime, not a fucking second. If I don't get that sweetness between your legs, I'll be just as golden before, now, and after as if I do. I don't give a fuck. Now, you might actually give a fuck, but remember, there are parts of you that don't give a fuck. Push those to the fore, right? Dates and hangouts, and God damn it, I wish I had this information in fucking high school and middle school. That's too young for that shit. High school and college. Dates and hangouts are not interviews. They're not. You are not under the spotlight. They're not under the spotlight. So if you're too eager to please, if you're too eager to boast, if you're too eager to listen and learn and soak up, imagine a girl like talking on a first date to a guy and he's like, oh yeah, oh my God, wow. And then what happened? Oh wow, you handled that really well. That is not the kind of energy that's getting you in the fucking stink anytime soon. And so all of this asking loads of questions and being there interview style or like boasting interview style, like, well, actually, I'm quite good at a lot of things. That's not the energy you want. And nor is the reverent energy of meeting an expert the thing you want. You're just there to have a good time, number one, with yourself. I'm all I fucking need to have a good time. I bring the good times with me anywhere I go. I don't give a shit if other people are in, and if they're in, amazing, let's have a good time together. If they're not, no big deal. I'm still having a fucking good time. And whoever you're in the convo with, it'll be a chill vibe, and here's the important part, with no distinct objective. There is no objective. But Mike, you're trying to attract a girl. No, I'm not. Attraction is her fucking problem. If she wants to be attracted to me, to be honest, it's a fucking liability because I'm a goddamn scumbag. She's making a fucking mistake. But if I'm interested in attracting a girl, I don't try at all. There's no trying. All that shit is subconscious anyway. I'm just here to have a good time. And if you want to show me some signs that you're attracted, you better show me clearly because I ain't even looking at you that much. That is the fucking energy. Can you imagine bringing that energy to an interview or to a fucking reverent mentor? Like, oh my God, Steven Pinker. He's like, Mike, how are you? I'm like, whatever. Like, whoa, that's kind of weird. He's man, this guy's not interested in talking to me. In attracting females, most times you have to be free from want. A cool way to imagine this, kind of as a sort of thought experiment, is you are a trillionaire and you just got done having painful fucking dust coming out of your dick nut with the 19th ultra elite Italian model that day. And then wherever the hell you find yourself talking to a girl that you think is cute, you show up like that. You're just like, oh shit. And she's like, hi. And you're like, what up? And if she remotely starts getting attracted to you, you're like, Jesus Christ, my dick's going to break. I can't even do this shit anymore. You don't want anything from her physically. Yeah, she's cute. So are the last 19 Italian models I'm going to have fucking had sex with. And guess what I do when I come home? I regretfully have sex with more of them. That's the abundance mentality. And yes, I just did describe Scott the Video Guy's actual life. So you have to be free from want because alpha, high status males, they already got it all. They don't want anything. When you don't want anything, they just sniff that out real quick. And they like that sort of thing, which is kind of contradictory, but you get the evolutionary logic. The want to put your best foot forward, the want to learn about them as much as possible, that shit does not apply. Not in the initial attraction phase. Later on date number 7 or some shit like that. If you come in ultra relaxed with no wants and needs and just have some BS and let the convo flow, always staying centered and chill, good things are much more likely to happen. When you're not trying with females, that's when all the good stuff happens. Now, all 3 of the examples I just cited, interview, meeting a mentor, and talking to an attractive girl, they really are the real you. Almost everyone listening has some aspects of that in there. They're just different parts. So the just be yourself isn't the best advice, but maybe the Swiss Army knife of pull out the part you want for the time that you want, but it's real parts, not make-believe parts, that is probably better advice. And a little bit more of an example for you from the real world. And this is from my teenage years, which is embarrassing. I have no idea why I'm sharing this on the internet. Good luck. Have fun laughing at me. I laugh at myself long enough. So when I was younger, my sister was like 2 years older and she had a ton of friends. And Scott, they were a ton of teenage Russian girls.
Fun.
Consent age teenage. Can you laugh at that now or no? Were they over 18? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Under my parole officer, all that other shit. So my sister's friends were 2 years older than me, and they were often hanging out with my sister, and so I interacted with them a ton. And because they were my sister's friends, because they were fucking always around, and because they were 2 years older than me, for some reason in my primate brain, I never looked at them as potential mates or people that I was even attracted to or like not sort of like allowed to be attracted to. Like it was kind of like, whatever. And for that reason, I have distinct memories of pretty much always just being super chill as fuck with all of them. I could vibe with all of them indefinitely. It was like a fucking stand-up comedy act. Boom, 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 one to the other. 3 girls looking at me. I'm like, bah, 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 bah. Easiest thing in the world. And they mostly thought I was like really adorable and super cool. And because I was, until I got freaky looking as an adult and turned into this monster. But in any case, I felt cool. With them, I felt untouchable because I didn't give a fuck. Because that's the number one way you feel cool is not giving a fuck. because nothing mattered. They weren't even on my list. The fuck. The girls at school in my grade or a grade below me or whatever, I felt huge pressure, completely subconsciously, by the way. Well, unfortunately, I was very conscious of it. The genesis was subconscious because they were folks that I saw as attraction opportunities. And I saw them much more as interviews or mentors to look up to, people of great importance or people I was interviewing with, than I saw them as just like, oh, what's up, Becky? I think that's your name, that kind of vibe. And that pressure made the interactions very, very awkward and unpleasant for me and them. And we both felt that it was awkward and unpleasant and knew that it was awkward and unpleasant as it was happening. Scott, you got some childhood interactions like that?
Oh, yeah.
We're like, everyone knows it's awkward, but no one can do anything about it. So it continues to be awkward.
Oh, 100.
That's like all of Napoleon Dynamite, the
Yes,
movie,
yeah,
pretty much. Yeah. So nobody getting laid in that movie, by the way. But so I treated these interactions as a kind of like once in a lifetime shot at $1 million a year job interview, or a meeting someone super important. You want to ask a ton of questions of them. And that was the wrong aspect of my personality to front. My family and my friends and my sister's friends, they knew me as a hypersocial and funny person, all that. If you meet me in the modern time or how I'm on camera is exactly how I'm in real life, that's like the centered real me that I am today with fucking damn near everyone. That's how they saw early me. And they would have never guessed that I would have trouble with girls, and I did. And they all told me if they found out that I had, all trouble with girls or whatever, they would say, just be the real you. You're hilarious. And it never fucking worked because I was not aware that I had multiple aspects of myself, and I would just subconsciously lean into the way wrong ones. I wish I knew this shit earlier. Now I'm retired from the game because I got old wifey, but now you know these things, you cannot make the same mistakes. So yes, it's totally cool and ideal to be yourself, but there are parts and aspects of you want to front the chill vibes part when you're trying to be attractive to the ladies. And the real thing is to mind fuck yourself enough into being like, I'm not even trying to be attractive to the ladies. And that's the real ticker. The other ones are for different occasions. Right? And funny enough, like when I was in high school, I was so academically serious that I was just busy like being serious and learning and doing work. And I'd have girls be like, hey, like, I think you're hot. And I'm like, thank you. And I would just go back to taking notes. Scott and I have joked that we would teleport back into our high school days and beat the living shit out of the respective younger versions of ourselves. Scott, would that beating the shit out of us teach us something, or is it just pure revenge at this point? Column A, column B.
Yeah.
Like, do you, before teleport back, do you tell the broken ribbed version of you, like what you're doing wrong? Or are you just like, you'll learn something from this kid. You little bitch.
Yeah.
You learn something. I don't know what it is. Maybe how like
Something.
rib reconstruction surgery works in the real world. So that's the first number one reason that just be yourself isn't the best advice in the world, because there are multiple aspects of yourself, and based on the situation, you want to front those aspects. The second, much quicker reason that you just be yourself isn't the best standalone advice is that you can improve yourself over time. You're not the same person over time. Especially if you're young, and especially if you want to and are working on improving, you absolutely shouldn't even try to be the real you, because the real you is changing. You might have a group of friends that like you a certain way, but you're slowly changing to be a way you think is better. And they might be like, dude, you've been fucking different lately, man. You're not the same you, like the same asshole me that eggs cars and smokes blunt during school. No, I want to fucking get an education and be nice to people. And they're like, man, that's fucking lame. Like, those people suck. Fuck them. It's fun to do that until you're 15 or 16, and then the real world shows up. You got to be fucking acting right. So it's totally fine not to be the real you, because the real you is just the outdated older you. You can slowly grow and nurture a new you, which is a really big deal. In fact, I would say you should actively be working on improving your better qualities over time and de-emphasizing your worst qualities to let the neural networks that promote them in your brain kind of wilt away, grow and reinforce the neural networks that have your good qualities. And that over time will change you to be better and better and better to the extent that you see fit. So yes, being yourself is great, but it can also mean changing yourself over time. So it's not good long-term advice to be yourself. It might be decent advice in the moment, but not the best long-term advice. So in the long term, we want to be better than ourselves. And in the short term, you want to be a Swiss Army knife. You are a Swiss Army knife of different expressions of yourself. Some expressions are better than others depending on the context. So in summary, yes, be yourself with folks that you want to attract, but feel free to tilt into the relaxed, I don't need anything here except for a good chat, abundance direction. And with practice, that becomes more and more the default you as you talk to women that you're attracted to. So the first time you ever try this, you might be like eating fucking shit and fucking just like stiff as a brick, and it's just all doesn't work right. Try it again and try it again and try it again. Honestly, this is insanely politically incorrect advice, but here I go ruining my reputation anyway. If you can't get the balls to talk to really hot girls yet that you want to be talking to, that you see yourself destined to be hooking up with or whatever, start talking to girls that aren't incredibly overwhelmingly attractive first, and then just scale up. Like, everyone can talk to grandma like she's a human being. And then that one bitch that nobody talks to because she looks hideous. Unfortunately, people like that do exist. I'm one of them. You can talk to her and run infinite game on that bitch. You have an abundance mentality because you don't even want it. And then after a few weeks of talking to girls like that and really practicing feeling that fucking swag and moving and grooving, you might have a couple of like, Kyle, I really love you. And you're like, oh shit, which is awesome. You can break her heart in a nice way. Just all part of being a teen. And then eventually you can talk to girls that are more and more attractive. You just train up. Like with anything, you can train up to do damn near anything. So you train up, and eventually whoever you choose to talk to, when you're in that attraction frame, you're just real fucking smooth. Like Scott, the video guy, didn't get to being Giga Chad for no fucking reason. My boy slayed it for fucking years. So when he talks to an attractive girl, number one, he's not sweating her. And number two, he knows exactly who he is in that moment because he's no first rodeos for him. So this kind of shit is real tough advice when you first start talking to attractive girls. But trust me, it gets easier, and practice more of the right shit. You get some shit wrong. You'll be like, dude, I fucked up talking to that girl, man. I started getting nervous halfway through and fucking just looking at her titties. I didn't even know which way was up. Like, no big deal. No big deal. You're fucking on to the next. No big deal. There's a trillion fucking hot girls. They literally, every year, there's more of them that turn 18. No big deal. There's robots coming soon. It'll be hotter than all girls you've ever seen. Abundance is the actual state of the world. Don't you fucking worry about a thing. You get a lot wrong, but just over time, slowly work on getting better and better and better in these kinds of interactions. And eventually you build that into your default mode. It's kind of like riding a bike. At first, you're like, holy shit, and you have to think about everything and think about your balance. But you ride your bike long enough and you can fucking talk on the phone and eat ice cream and talk shit to someone behind you while you're riding a bike. It's just the default state of how you do things. Same applies to conversation. Same applies to talking to females. You guys think I can fucking lecture off the cuff with a few notes like that? Just fucking, that's just how I was born? Fuck no. This is a very trained skill. I was a professor for a long time, a shitload of public speaking. I used to have stage fright. Scott, can you imagine that shit? Me with stage fright? Did you even know me?
Sure.
Did you know me when I was that person? No, right? I just showed up with giant yapping balls the first time Scott saw me. So it's just a built skill. You can do it, but you have to understand there's a way to talk to females. That's that part of your Swiss Army knife. That's what you want to practice. With practice, that becomes more and more the default you, and then maybe you'll actually get to talk to a real girl at some point. In any case, let me know what you guys think. Throw some comments in there if this is the kind of content you guys want, or maybe some other kind of content that's related. If you're like, oh, like I have a specific problem, or you know what, this is a thing I've been struggling with. I don't know hardly anything about this, but I might know marginally more than I did when I was younger, and maybe I can help you just not be as big of an idiot as I was. That's the hope. Guys, it's been real as fuck. See you next week for more of this kind of bullshit.